do all the different things that she was very excited about.
I'm Kara. So when Dr. Anderson was not questioning why all the patients on labor and delivery were not ruptured on PIT and with an IUPC, she and I bonded over pop culture a lot. We like to read a lot of the same things, and food. And I really think she was an amazing teacher. She taught me a lot. And I liked her style of teaching. She always challenged me to remove a cyst by rewarding me with cookies, and I appreciate that. If it was intact. So I do think about Dr. Anderson a lot, and over the 4 years that I knew her, I considered her to be a mentor and also a friend, and I miss her.
I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for Gina, and I will miss her terribly.
I'm Natasha, and Dr. Anderson, it's amazing how after you're done with residency, how many times some of your mentors come to your mind and little things that you're doing. And so many days since I've been out, I will look at somebody's vulva and say, oh, what would Dr. Anderson think about this? And I remember saying to many patients, well, if I can't fix it, I know somebody who can. And I think about her almost every day. And, in as much as she taught me and even helped me find the job I'm at now, one of the memories that sticks out is, in spite of how busy she was teaching and guiding us, I remember around, I think, my second year of residency, it was around the time of my birthday, and I remember joking, oh, I like brownies, because I knew she made them. And sure enough, on my birthday, here she came with like this container of brownies that she had made just for me. And I remember thinking, you actually took the time to make me brownies, in spite of like all the vulvar clinics and everything you're trying to teach all of us. And so in that way, she went that extra mile to show each one of us that we were personally special. And that I'll definitely miss.
I'm Vijay Ganesh from the Department of OBGYN, and I worked with Gina Anderson since she joined the department. She was a good colleague, good friend, and good clinician, and I'm going to miss her.
I'm one of the OBGYN attendants. Gina was often, I was often taking over from labor and delivery after Gina, and so our mornings were always talking about somebody who was bleeding or somebody who had a problem, and we often didn't have time to talk. But interestingly enough, about 2 weeks before Gina died, no one was bleeding, and no one was trying to die, and we spent like 2 hours talking. First we were talking loudly, and then the nurses said, then you were whispering, and we were talking about the New York Times and articles that she read and how hopeful she was about going to Boston. So I'd just like her family to know that in honor of her, we got some copies of the New York Times Magazine, and we spent many of the past few days on call, folding them into cranes. And I don't know if Dr. Barrett's here, but there's probably some charts on hold that we would get to sign.
And you missed it. He already went back to the wing. You're going to have to
Well, we'll have to hide that from him. But we did that, in love and in respect for her.
My name is Aya, and I had the office next to Gina for a long time. And Dr. Howe can't talk about the first time she met Gina, but I can. And I'm not an MD at UMD. I am a program director, and I was when I met her for the first time, she introduced herself to me, And I'm always very wary and careful in calling the doctors by their titles, Dr. this or Dr. that. And I said, well, very nice to meet you, Dr. Anderson. And she looked at me and she said, oh my gosh, just call me Gina. And what struck me about that is how down to earth this woman was who was to become my friend. We talked endlessly about books that she had been reading in book clubs or retreats she was going to be taking. And when I first met her, she had 2 kitties. She had Scout and Tex, and I was trying to find a home for a rescue kitty, and I had asked her about that, and she considered it for a while, and then ended up adopting Marley and talking to me and calling me from the store about Marley, and it was just a very sweet process, and to see how Marley had changed from this scared little kitty to this sweet little cat that used to jump up on Gina and just have no fear, and that was a real testament to somebody who had a lot of love. And the last thing that I just wanted to share about Gina was how thoughtful she was all the time. If I was sad or upset about something at the office, I would just bang on her door and just plop down in a chair and just start sobbing, and she would hand me a piece of chocolate. She'd go, here, take this. And it was just, she always had a stash. It was just really very sweet for somebody to find time in her busy schedule to take care of me. Or when she would take trips to Target, she would always bring home like a little basket full of dollar items for my daughter, who also loved kitties. And I'd always knew when Gina had gone to Target because I'd walk in my desk in the morning, and there on my desk would be a basket full of little presents for my daughter. She was my friend, and I loved her, and I will miss her terribly.
My name is Lisa Chappelle. I've worked in the department for 5 years with Dr. Anderson as the coordinator, and we share the love of cats, and she introduced me to I Can Has Cheeseburger.
Hi, my name is Erin. I was Gina's cat sitter, so everybody knows how much she loved cats. I was her cat sitter for 5 years, and I've had a lot of clients. Most are pretty nice, some are jerks, but there was nobody like Gina. Unbelievably kind and thoughtful and generous. And I probably saw her no more than a handful of times face to face, because I was always taking care of the cats when she was gone. But we communicated via email and Facebook often, and she never failed to also leave small, thoughtful gifts for my daughter. And just, you know, you never expect that. I'm working for her, but yet she treated me as a friend. And I was so sad when she was moving to Boston, and I mean, this makes me unbelievably sad.
Jackie Lachlan. I was one of Gina's colleagues at the New Jersey Medical School, and while I was there as program director, Gina impressed everyone with her keen intellect and her patient care abilities and her teaching abilities, and we entrusted her with the life curriculum, which is a very important part of residency training, and Dr. Weiss, our chair, immediately recognized that she should be one of the select few physicians who actually gave the board exams to young physicians who had completed their training. Perhaps the funniest moment I had was coming out of the bathroom, which was across the hall from Gina's second office after she moved from Isles area, and joining a big discussion with Dr. Anderson, Dr. Hauk, and Dr. James critiquing the diamonds on the Blue Nile website.
Hi, I'm Paula Castano. I'm an OBGYN at Columbia, and I was a first-year resident when Gina was my fourth-year resident. And as Amy already alluded to, that fourth-year class was pretty terrifying. I think mostly just because they were fourth years and we were little interns and knew nothing, and Parkland was terrifying. And actually, Gina was great and never did anything mean to me and was my teacher. And we were both originally, or sort of, from Minnesota, even though we'd never actually intersected any of our time there, and somehow that felt like some kind of a bond. you know, because Midwesterners are cool. And then I was really happy when Gina moved back to this area because I had come here straight after residency for my fellowship. And I was glad to see her a couple of times in the last few years. And, you know, I'm sure you all have these sort of feelings of regret. There were a couple of times that I got together with Amy and we said, oh, hopefully Gina can join us, and she couldn't. And it was just one of those things where I was like, well, next time maybe. And unfortunately, next time is today. But Gina leaves all of us here in this room who know her, love her, remember her, and especially those of us who were taught by her, tons of residents and medical students at Parkland because it was such a huge program, and then equal numbers of people here now, and then all of the ones that we're going to influence will have a bit of Gina's teaching in them, and I think that's amazing. And then also the fact that she took care of patients that not everyone wants to take care of, and conditions that not everyone wants to deal with. Even as OBGYNs, we tend to compartmentalize our care, and she chose something that not many people do, and I just think it's great that there will be so many people that will go on and carry on her teaching, her love for women and for patients.